9. The Indian Gentleman. It was dangerous for Ermengarde and Lottie to come often to the attic, so Sarah lived a strange and lonely life. She had no one to talk to, and when she was sent out on errands and walked through the streets, a little figure carrying a basket or a parcel, she felt as if the crowds hurrying past her made her loneliness greater. In the evening, when she passed houses whose windows were lighted up, she used to look into the warm rooms and amuse herself by imagining things about the people she saw sitting before the fires or about the tables. There were several families in the square in which Miss Minchin lived, with which she had become quite familiar in a way of her own. The one she liked best she called the large family. She called it the large family not because the members of it were big, for indeed most of them were little, but because there were so many of them. There were 8 children in the large family, and a stout, rosy mother, and a stout, rosy father, and a stout, rosy grandmother, and any number of servants. The children were always doing something enjoyable, and suited to the tastes of a large family. Sarah was quite fond of them. One evening, a very funny thing happened, though. Perhaps, in one sense, it was not a funny thing at all. Several children of the large family were evidently going to a children's party, and just as Sarah was about to pass the door, they were crossing the pavement to get into the carriage which was waiting for them. 2 girls in white dresses had just got in, and a boy of 5 was following them. He was such a pretty fellow, and had such rosy cheeks and blue eyes, that Sarah forgot her basket and shabby clothes, in fact forgot everything, but that she wanted to look at him for a moment. So she paused and looked. It was Christmas time, and the large family had been hearing many stories about children who were poor and had no mammas and papas to fill their stockings and take them to the pantomime. Children who were, in fact, cold and hungry. In the stories, kind people, sometimes little boys and girls with tender hearts, saw the poor children and gave them money or rich gifts, or took them home to beautiful dinners. The boy had read such a story, and was burning with desire to find such a poor child, and give her a 6pence he had in his pocket. An entire 6pence, he was sure, would mean a lot for this child, and just as he came up to the carriage, he saw Sarah standing on the wet pavement in her shabby dress and hat, with her old basket on her arm, looking at him. So he put his hand in his pocket, and found his 6pence, and walked up to her. "Here, poor little girl," he said. "Here is a 6pence. I will give it to you." Sarah at once realized that she looked exactly like poor children she had seen in her better days. Her face went red, and then it went pale. "Oh, no," she said. "Oh, no, thank you." But the boy thrust the 6pence into her hand. "Yes, you must take it," he insisted. "You can buy things to eat with it. It is a whole 6pence." There was something so honest and kind in his face, and he looked so likely to be disappointed if she did not take it, that Sarah knew she must not refuse him. To be as proud as that would be a cruel thing. So she actually put her pride in her pocket. "Thank you," she said. "You are a kind, kind little darling thing." And she went away trying to smile, though she was very sad. She had known that she looked odd and shabby, but until now she had not known that she might be taken for a beggar. As the large family's carriage drove away, the children inside it were talking with interested excitement. "Oh, Donald," this was the boy's name, said one of the girls, "why did you offer that little girl your 6pence? I'm sure she is not a beggar." "She didn't speak like a beggar," said the other sister, "and her face didn't really look like a beggar's face." Sarah knew nothing about the fact, but from that time the large family was as much interested in her as she was in it, and she was called by all of them the little girl who was not a beggar, which was, of course, rather a long name, and sounded very funny sometimes when the youngest ones said it in a hurry. Sarah made a hole in the sixpence and hung it on an old bit of narrow ribbon round her neck. She had wished very much that someone would take the empty house next door. She wished it because of the attic window, which was so near hers. She hoped to see someone in it some day. One morning, on turning the corner of the square after a visit to the butcher's and the baker's, she saw, to her great delight, that during her absence a van full of furniture had stopped before the next house, and men were going in and out, carrying heavy packages and pieces of furniture. "It's taken," she said. "It really is taken." All of the furniture of the new occupant was rich and beautiful, and a great deal of it was Oriental. Wonderful rugs, tables, and chairs were taken from the vans, many pictures and books, enough for a library. Among other things, there was a superb god Buddha. Someone in the family must have been in India, Sarah thought. They have got used to Indian things and like them. I am glad. I shall feel as if they were friends, even if a head never looks out of the attic window. At night, after her work was done, Becky came in to see her fellow prisoner and bring her news. "An Indian gentleman is coming to live next door. He's very rich and he is ill, and the gentleman of the large family is his lawyer," she said. Becky sat and talked long that night of what he would be like, of what his wife would be like if he had one, and of what his children would be like if they had children. It was several weeks before her curiosity was satisfied, and then it was revealed that the new occupant had neither wife nor children. He was a solitary man with no family at all, and it was evident that he was shattered in health and unhappy in mind. A carriage drove up one day and stopped before the house. The father of the large family got out first. After him, there got out a nurse in uniform. Then came down the steps 2 men servants. They came to help their master. He was carried up the steps, and the head of the large family went with him, looking very anxious. Shortly afterward, a doctor's carriage arrived, and the doctor went in to take care of him. That was the beginning of the story of the Indian gentleman.